Now, the main attraction, it is our very own Rabbi Rachel.
Aloha, everybody. Good morning. Oh my gosh, there's smiling faces looking back at me instead of masks. Can we just applaud that for a second? Oh, I much prefer the smiles than the whatever it is. I don't know. So that was a treat to walk in and see that this morning. And I love to see everybody looking back at me. Aloha, everybody. It's good to be here. This month's theme is pulled by vision, right? Pulled by vision. And when Reverend Kathy sent me that, I kind of was thinking about it, was meditated on it a little bit, thinking about what being pulled by vision means. And for me personally, the past few weeks have been a big few weeks of reflection. Starting with 2.5 weeks ago, I had my 5-year anniversary of being ordained as the youngest female rabbi in the world. So that was pretty cool. Thank you. Then a few weeks after that, I had my 34th birthday, finished year 33, which is the magical Jesus year, they say, and the year of completion and all these things. And so it's been a lot of reflecting for me on where I've been pulled in my life by vision and what that truly means. What does it mean to be pulled by vision? And when I think of those words, I think of surrender. Like when there's something in you that is so much stronger than thought or logic or reason that actually in a lot of ways defies thought and logic and reason. And you just go with it, not knowing where it's going to go. So for me, the story of becoming a rabbi kind of was that. I did not go to Israel planning to be a rabbi at 28 years old in any capacity. I went for a free trip and to see how it was going to go and, experience it. And the story that I'm going to share with you guys, I used to go to the Hilo Farmers Market and buy crystals for my healing treatments and for my Reiki treatments. And my friend Sharon always helped me with the crystals. And I would send clients to her and we would work together, and she and I had some sort of connection I couldn't explain. Of course, she was Jewish, side note, but that wasn't part of it. And when I was leaving to go to Israel, she said to me, "Hey, I need you to do something really important for me. This is a really big favor. Do you think you could do this?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really overwhelmed right now. What is it you're asking me to do?" And she was like, "I took something from there when I was younger, and it really needs to go back. And we on Hawai'i Island, we know how this goes." I was like, "All right, okay, well, I'll think about it." And between us, I was not planning to take the rock. It sounded like way too much, and I really didn't want to do it. But I ended up at the Hilo Farmers Market the day before I was leaving, and I honestly tried to avoid Sharon and not walk past her booth. But all of a sudden, something pulled me, and next thing you know, I was there, and I was like, "All right, give me the rock. Where? I'll take this rock back for you. Where is it supposed to go?" And she told me the rock was from the top of Masada, which is a famous mountain in Israel, and it's where the Jews and the Romans had one of their last battles. The Jews and the Babylonians had one of their last battles. It's actually a really dark history. It's where a group of Jews committed mass suicide because they would rather die than be enslaved by the Babylonians who were coming to capture them. And it just so happened that I was going to be hiking to the top of Masada at sunrise. So I take this rock, and this rock is horrible. The energy was so dark. I'm not kidding you guys. It was a horrible rock. The energy was so dark, I handed it to one of my friends. This is a true story. And she threw it on the ground and was like, "What is that thing? I don't want to touch it." And I hadn't told her anything about it. It was that dark. It needed to go home. There was dark energy in it. So we go to the top of Masada, it's sunrise, and it's this gorgeous, gorgeous morning, like the sunrise out of The Lion King, that red, yellow, it's just fake. And all of a sudden this rock, I kid you not, starts telling me where it needs to go. And I find myself wandering off from all my friends in the group and over to this spot on a cliff. And I'm already really emotional because the energy of somewhere where your ancestors have died already feels super triggering and emotional, and I can't even explain it. I already was, a mess, if you will. And then I wind up sitting down far away from the group, meditating, crying, tears streaming down my face, putting this rock back. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the emotion was. I don't know how to explain it other than I felt like I was doing something that wasn't about me. I was doing something for the generations that came before me. I was doing something for the generations that came after, but it was in no way about me. And I'm sitting there crying, and I'm in this space, and my friend comes up to me, whose mom happened to be a huge rabbi in LA. And she sits down next to me, puts her hand on my back, and out of nowhere I turned to her and I said, I think I'm supposed to become a rabbi. Literally, you guys, this is the story of me becoming a rabbi. I said it just like that. I think I'm supposed to become a rabbi. And she said, I think you should do that too. And next thing you know, I'm on the streets of Sfat, the mystical area of Israel where all the art is, and all the mystics went and meditated in the cave to receive the Kabbalah. And I'm knocking on the door of a building asking this rabbi if he will study with me. And there I was, studying in the middle of Israel about stuff I knew nothing about. I had always been Jewish, but I really had no other interest, to be quite honest with you. I had done Reiki, I was a yoga healer, I had kind of steered away from that path. But it was like something in my roots pulled me back. And then the next day I found myself in Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum. And I had this strange, overwhelming feeling, because the craziest thing about Yad Vashem is that they take you through how the Holocaust happened. Because everybody wants to go, oh, we would never let that happen again. There's no way that would happen. We would step in. We would do something. So they take you through and show you how that happened. From the media and the way things changed in the media, to the small signs on doors, right? Alienating people, from making people feel left out, what we would call microaggressions nowadays. And I had this clear vision, I have no other way of putting it, of like, this is what's happening right now. And this is what's going to continue to happen in our world. This is why I'm supposed to be a rabbi. And I continued to study. I ended up extending my trip and staying in Israel for like 2 to 3 months. You guys, I did not plan to tell this story this morning. It's nowhere in my notes. I ended up staying in Israel for a few months, enrolling in an online rabbinical school. I was there. And then being like, I'm supposed to build a synagogue in Hawaii. There's no synagogue there. I can't continue my study there. I can't raise a family there. I can't be Jewish there. And at the same time, I felt that there was this deep spiritual connection between Hawaii and Israel about like where we began, if you will, and where we end, if you will. And that they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, that energetically on the planet, they're two hot spots. And that I was supposed to open a synagogue, on the Big Island of Hawaii. So I enrolled in rabbinical school. I kept studying. I put my intention into the universe. I hosted a Passover Seder at Sweet Cane Cafe, thinking no one would come, and 65 people showed up. And here I stand 5 years later, like, I'm really glad I let that vision pull me. Because on Wednesday, so in Judaism, we read the Torah. It's the 5 books of Moses, also known as the Old Testament, but it's a scroll that we read. And the handles are carved, and they're a work of art. It's beautiful. And the parchment is usually horsehide. They take a minimum of 10 years because the entire thing is written by hand, by a scribe, people who train their entire lives to write the Torah. And that's the most sacred thing you can have in Judaism. And on Wednesday, arriving to the Big Island is a Torah that was in a synagogue. I don't know if I'm going to be able to even say this without crying. That was in a synagogue in Poland during the Holocaust that they found at the Polish-German border. That synagogue was later destroyed by Nazis, but that Torah remained, and it's coming to the Big Island on Wednesday to be a part of a Hawai'i, because I'm officiating a bat mitzvah for someone who would have never had a rabbi on the island, and we would have never been getting that Torah. Ooh, that's cool to say. So in a shameless self-promotion effort, you guys are all welcome to the Torah dedication and celebration, August 11th in Ponieva. It will be a Shabbat service. We'll do a dedication of the Torah. Our Mayor Mitch Roth will be there. We all have lunch available. And then afterwards, my friend Goldie Lefkowitz, who's a 99-year-old Holocaust survivor, will be joining us from Kona to share her story. So the entire community is welcome to come celebrate what happens when a crazy Jewish girl follows a vision on a birthright trip. So it's pretty cool when you think about that concept of being pulled by vision. And I've kind of gone with this the rest of my life. And there's these moments in time where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I can't see the end of this. I don't know how this is going to go. This defies logic. This defies reason. But I'm meant to go with it. I didn't think I'd be 28 years old and a rabbi. I didn't think I'd be 34 years old and a rabbi. I really never thought I'd be a rabbi, to be quite honest with you. But I'm so grateful that I was pulled by that vision, that I allowed myself to give in to something that was bigger than me without knowing how it was going to end up. Because that's the biggest part of it all. We want to know. We want the answers. We want the who, what, when, where, why, and how. But the divine doesn't work like that. I think like Moses in the Torah, leading the people, I don't think he knew that he was going to end up 40 years later freeing an entire people from slavery. We're all called to be pulled by vision. And to me, vision is when you allow something else to see through you. And you don't need to see beyond the horizon. You can just trust in the knowing that it's there. And I was working on my speech over the weekend, and I was kind of really stuck on what I was going to talk about or what I was going to write, believe it or not. And all of a sudden, one of my girlfriends, one of my witchy friends, if you will, sent me this quote. Nature loves courage. You make the commitment, and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream, and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really taught the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is how magic is done. By hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a featherbed. And I felt like I really needed to share that, because to me, that is what being pulled by vision truly means. Hurl yourself into the abyss and know that it is a featherbed. So with that said, I have a little something else for you. Pulled by vision, I lead with my heart. Where I go, I don't know, but from here I start. And that, to me, is the art, when we come together, not drift apart. When we begin where we are, just push the cart, choose to surrender, no need to dart. Life can be sweet, sour, and tart. We all have our role, we all play a part. I want to share it all, everything with you, all that I've learned, all that I've been through, because being vulnerable is what I was put here to do. Leading with love is what makes me a Jew. It's like I'm not me. I'm someone brand new, like an animal set free who's been locked in a zoo. I see the world with my rainbow hue, and I know there's lots happening, big shifts a brew. Sometimes in my head, in my thoughts I stew, where I belong, where is my crew? Why this card is the one that I drew, why the divine chose me with no one in lieu. Why I stand on the bema, not sit in the pews. Why anti-Semitism and hate is mine to rue. Why I was called to help you too. And my mom always would say, are you a weenie or a woo? Trauma and grief tests our belief, makes us look within and go really deep. Because when we are called to take a big leap, we just have to jump, no matter how steep. Our karma, our actions, our choices we reap. Stuff to work on, up it does creep. Until you look down and there's a big heap, and in that moment you choose to smile or weep. Into your heart the divine does seep. We are called to surrender, called to let go. The divine has our back. This I do know. We are called to surrender and go with the flow, or carry it with us, all our baggage in tow. It's up to you how much you can stow. We make our choices, have our own seeds to sow. We tend our own garden, we hold our own hoe. We choose how it grows and whether or not we mow. You are the arrow, God is the bow. The unaimed arrow never misses, it flies like the crow. God decides where it lands, how high or how low. You choose how you go, whether or not you say whoa. Sometimes I feel helpless, scared and alone, overwhelmed by this life, the internet and our phones. I've seen beyond this, the cover's been blown. I know we are spirit in a body on loan, all pulled by vision, a power to hone. Can we see the signs we're always being shown? It is always within us, in our mumbles and groans, the laughter and tears, the sighs and the moans. It is always there in the trees and the stones. We choose it all, the pace and the tone. The divine is always working to make its presence known, but can we choose to see where the angels have flown? We must put ourselves first. That is the work, to do it with love and not feel like a jerk. The world is insane. It's literally berserk. It's not healthy to always be able to watch someone twerk. There's always something happening, and big change does lurk. We have to see the light through the darkness and murk, and we have God on our side. That is the perk. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You are supported. The divine is your friend. How loved you are, you truly can't comprehend. How supported you are, how life does bend. For you and your thoughts, the message you send, you are that powerful, I cannot pretend. You were put here to help our world mend. So much more than a trend, we are all God in this place on lend. Our logic and reason we must sometimes suspend, and the key is to learn this before the end. I still don't know why God put me here, why this vision I have is so crystal clear, why it's a challenge to put fear in the rear, why there's no accidents, coincidences aren't mere, why we're given temptation, drugs and beer, why we're given free will, our own ships to steer, why there is always light, but the darkness does leer, why we are worthy and needed, my dear, why we were put here for this shift we are near. Always supported, never alone. When we are pulled by vision, we find our way home. Not knowing where we end, we wander and roam. We journey together into the unknown. Signs along the way, I know we are shown, and I've said it before, the cover's been blown. Do we laugh and cry, kick and moan, 'cause we write the story, we set the tone. As a collective, how much have we grown? We have to wake up. I feel it deep in my bones. Life doesn't happen behind these phones. We are being tested right now, whether or not it is known. We must connect to the sacred, the sea and the stone. Pulled by vision, our skills we can hone. We're the ones we've been waiting for. Mahalo. Shalom. Thank you, everybody.